Hi, it's Maria, and this is going to be a very short message, but it's been something that has been kind of gnawing at me all day, and it stemmed from the fact that there were a couple times actually in the last couple days where people out of nowhere would say something like, well, you know that no one's coming to save you. And it struck me rather strangely because I wasn't waiting for anyone to come and save me. And it was almost felt that it was rather a cruel statement and meant to be hurtful. And I don't know if people thought I was just going to lay on my bed and put my feet up and just totally relax, and just wait for, my Prince Charming to come and whoosh me away, right? But that is so far from the truth. Although at times, that sounds like not such a bad idea. But I'm just kidding, really. But I was wondering what would bring someone to suggest such a thing. And that gives the illusion that we are sitting here waiting for someone or something to take us out of whatever situation that is less than appropriate at the time. And I'm thinking, gosh, people really think that I am just waiting for something. And I guess, as you think about it, we're all kind of waiting for something, whether it's we're waiting for Christmas to come, or whether we're waiting for our children to come home from school, or we're waiting for our husbands to retire, or whatever. But since none of those seem applicable to me, I'm not waiting for anything. And it almost seemed as if I was, people really thought I was waiting to be saved, and therefore I wasn't being very proactive, when in fact, again, I am like a workaholic, and I'm not saying that that's a good thing, because it can truly be not a good thing, because you're spending so much time kind of anesthetizing yourself and not being engaged in activities that can be very meaningful, and instead you're kind of shutting the world outside away from you, and you are just kind of focused on whatever project you're working on, and that's just me. And although over the last month, I think I've really kind of burned out a little bit. And so I have I think it's just been really sheer exhaustion. And maybe it is contributive of the heat in Florida, perhaps, and the humidity, where it's very difficult to motivate oneself. But I'm not looking for any excuses like that. And so when I think of, and then people will say, well, you're not getting any younger or something like that. And I'm like, whoa. And yeah, it's true. I mean, I don't even want to think about that. And yet I probably feel like I'm in my 50s, or not a day over 50 for some reason. And I thank you, God, for just giving me the chutzpah, the energy, the drive, yeah, to just go out there and do what it is I'm here to do. And sometimes I think, oh gosh, well, let's see, what shall I do today? And yet I think, oh, well, I know my path. I know what I'm supposed to do. I know that I have been granted certain things that I am to use and that I am to share with others. And so there should never be a moment of pause in my life. I should know exactly what I'm supposed to do and just go out there and do it. And it's true. That is exactly right. It's just that sometimes we just get so tired, and we just need to kind of recharge, recalibrate, I think. so there was that. And let's see, what else can I tell you? Oh, I know when they talk about the homeless, and I do have a video that I made in 2014, I think it is. And it was called, you can get it on YouTube. It's called A National Crisis. And you might want to look it up. And I had an Android phone, and I had very limited experience in videos or whatever at the time. But I sat down and I interviewed homeless people, and of which I was one. And hard to believe. Just impossible to believe. And yet that gave me such a deeper meaning of my situation, and of the situation of so many. And so, because when you think, when people talk about being homeless, it's almost as if they're subhuman, because they don't even have a home. And so who doesn't have a home? Like, everybody has a home, right? Well, you know what? That's not always the case. And for me, who was living, in my beautiful condo on the beach, and then when I saw my father ruthlessly murdered, and then I, 9 months later, saw my mother savagely murdered, and when I saw that there was no one that wanted to even discuss any of that, everything was, shh, we're not going to talk about it. Well, why aren't we going to talk about it? Only the guilty don't want to talk about it, because anyone else would want justice, right? Or at least want an explanation of what the hell was going on there, and why don't we have all the information, and how did this happen? And I remember it was Chief Slaughter, I think that's his name, and he was the Clearwater police chief. And so I called him, and he said, oh, no, we can't really do anything now, and we're not going to take a missing persons report or anything, because they have to be dead by, or they have to be missing by 60 days or 90 days or whatever. And so I thought that was very weird. And then, but when I saw him, when I went to a Clearwater Council members meeting to tell them how poorly I think they had handled the situation of my parents' disappearance and ultimately their murder. Of course, they didn't want to hear that. But when I told him that, and he said, yes, I remember you in the year 2010. And I said, and do you remember me in 2011? And in 2012? And 2013? And 2014? And blah, 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 up until 2022, because that is when I returned to Clearwater. And I went there to look at all the police reports that I had made. And then when I was told, oh no, you don't even have a file here. We don't have a file under your name or anything. There's nothing. There's no documentation. And I was like, you must be kidding. And so when I think of how we deal with crises like that, and when I was invited to go to Brazil in order to pray for my parents and to pray for those who had ended their lives, and yet when I had asked for that, and I had been invited to go to Brazil, while I was there, I was praying for them, and then as soon as I came back, it was just the same old, and no one took any responsibility. No one had any information for me, and I was just lost. And I think that, I think it's just when we when we lose our foundation, you know, our parents and our families, and we think about Thanksgiving and how everybody's always together, and then there's Christmas, and it's just such a fun time, and everyone is so jolly and merry, and there's, you know, Santa Claus, and there's the cookies, and it's all the really fun stuff and everything. And when you think about that, and then you think about the injustice, and you think about how people have been taken from us, and there's been no explanation, and no and no remorse over the lack of humanity, over the lack of civility, over the lack of appropriate conduct, and kindness and compassion. And when I think of how my situation was handled, and I think, well, so obviously there's something that I had to learn, and there was something that I am here to bestow upon others, because no way should this have just been part of the journey and then that's it, you know? I mean, we learn so much about not only ourselves, but about all those around us. And then we learn about the collective outside of us. So we don't just learn microcosmically what's going on within our small circle, but we learn macrocosmically what is going out in the world around us, and how people are being treated, and how people are suffering. And there's just so much that is so hurtful to people, and they and so it's time that we realized that things can't be swept under the rug anymore, and that there must be exposure, and there must be accountability. And so I think that's because of my history, that is truly what is very, very important to me, because never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined that my family would show me a side of them that I just couldn't imagine, that they had bought into sacrificing relatives for their estate, for money. To me, it's just so ridiculous. I just can't even imagine. That's like blood money or dirty money or something like that. And so I just, everything. There have been so many eye openers that I just couldn't even imagine. And it's kind of like, I don't know if it's my naivete, or if they thought that I was just really dumb or what. Sometimes, it's not such a bad idea to play really dumb, because when people think you're really dumb, then sometimes they share some of the jewels that you need to hear in order to really understand just how depraved some people are. But yeah. So anyway, I just, when I heard that people were saying, no one's going to come and rescue you, I just, right away, it was just like, well, of course not. I don't expect anyone to come and rescue me. And then I thought, oh, well, first of all, there's nothing wrong if someone wants to come and help me, or there's nothing wrong if somebody wants to partner up with me, or collaborate with me. There's nothing wrong with that. That would be a wonderful thing. But to make it sound as if, I'm some kind of fairy princess sitting here waiting for Prince Charming on his white horse to come and swoosh me away. Well, yeah, no, I knew that wasn't going to happen. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that I have to be all alone. And yeah. And wondering wondering, oh gosh, what's going to happen? Oh gosh, oh God. So anyway, yeah, that was just something I wanted to make clear. And you know, there's a happy medium between looking and welcoming a partner, or welcoming someone who is of integrity and someone who is of the same mindset for a collaboration of sorts, as opposed to just being shunned and people crossing the street on the other side of the street, rather than even engaging in conversation. And yet that was the experience that I had, given whatever kind of coven or group or something that was to make me feel less than, or make me feel as if, I wasn't worthy, or make me feel as if people were looking at me with disdain. None of that stuff made any sense to me at all. And so anyway, I wanted to get on and just kind of elaborate a little bit about that sentence that has been reverberating in my mind all day long about, Maria, no one's going to come and save you. And I thought, well, I didn't even need to hear that. And yet I understand, because other people are coming from that space where they believed that maybe someone who wasn't in a relationship, or who was alone as I was, not by choice, well, yes, definitely by choice, but they thought that maybe I was holding out or something. And maybe I was, because if the energy isn't right, then we don't even want to go there, right? Because that's a time waster, and we have a limited amount of time on this planet, and we are here to do great things. Each and every one of us is here to better the planet and to help humanity raise its vibration in significant ways. And so I thought, well, I have to wait for that opportunity. I'm not just going to waste my time or spend time in things that don't have any lasting ability or and so because time is precious, and we do need to use it wisely, and it's not something that we will ever get back. So we need to be very judicious with the time we spend in our various activities. And so anyway, that's the bottom line. No, Maria's not waiting for Prince Charming to come and whoosh her away on some white horse. Okay? And so don't worry about it. It'll be all right. And so anyway, I love you, and I thank you for tuning in. And I hope this made even a little bit of sense. But it's always wonderful to connect with you, and I thank you. Good night.